how does virtual commissioning play into digital transformation, which is a term almost everybody is using nowadays? Let's talk about that next. All right, so let's talk about digital transformation and virtual commissioning. They're both initiatives, although one is a little bit different level than the other. Digital transformation is often seen as this overarching initiative definition. There's a lot of things that can fall underneath it. That includes things like system simulation, predictive maintenance, which is way down into operation and service, model-based definition, which is a documentation effort or initiative for mechanical hardware, model-based systems engineering, which is all about getting a single unambiguous definition of a system, digital twins, which is where you take sensor readings and feed that back into a simulation to mimic real-world behavior, smart manufacturing, where you get sensors all over the manufacturing shop floor and you use that for analytics and all sorts of other stuff, generative design, where AI and machine learning can be used to generate mechanical designs. And virtual commissioning is one of these initiatives that kind of fall under the umbrella of digital transformation. Okay, so virtual commissioning falls underneath digital transformation. What's the big deal? Why is that important? Well, digital transformation is it's kind of undergoing this rising tide of recognition in the industry. A lot of executives might not know what system simulation or model-based definitions are, but overall, all of these other initiatives are kind of being coined as part of digital transformation. And as a result, the recognition of digital transformation is rising overall. And executives are kind of, they recognize that. They know that a lot of their peers are going through similar efforts in other companies within the industry. Why does that matter? Well, if you're trying to get a virtual commissioning effort going in your company, this is a good way to help justify it. Virtual commissioning has all sorts of benefits in its own right, but as part of a larger digital transformation effort, you might get more headway with executives, getting sign-off, getting things approved along the way. That's kind of the advantage here. Now, when you think about all the different efforts underneath digital transformation, there's actually some common value propositions to each of them. This common value proposition relies on a comparison to the traditional physical way of doing things today, kind of the established approach. That usually relies on some effort up front, maybe multiple definitions where there's some confusion or not a lot of insight into performance. And when you hit a later stage in development, that's when an issue occurs. And you see this backloaded effort where suddenly you have to throw a whole lot of resources at an issue to resolve it. And that results in delays, cost overruns, all sorts of issues. So the comparison here is, and this is called lots of different things: get it right the first time, shift left, right by design, many different names. But the idea is you put more effort up front and you ensure that you have a clear definition, you have a clear insight into performance. You can do this lots of different ways, but these are digital approaches. And along the way, you have confidence through these middle phases until you get to these later phases and you don't end up with those surprises. This is a very common value proposition behind these initiatives and these kind of efforts. Okay, so what's the overall takeaway? Number one, virtual commissioning is part of a digital transformation effort. It's something that your executives are more likely to recognize, and as a result, maybe sign off on it faster. Number two, virtual commissioning relies on the same kind of value proposition that you see in a lot of digital transformation efforts. It's all about get it right the first time, right by design, shift left. You put in a little bit more digital effort to avoid a lot of errors and problems late in the design cycle. That is important because you can go to executives. They're probably going to be familiar with this concept. This value proposition applies to simulation-driven design, system simulation, model-based system engineering, model-based definitions. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Right? You do more work earlier, a little bit more work earlier, in a digital way that when you get to the physical stuff, it's streamlined. It goes smoothly. You don't run into a whole bunch of problems. So you can leverage that with your executives. They're going to have some familiarity. You can say, hey, this is just like when we adopted simulation-driven design, except it's with production engineering. That's what virtual commissioning is kind of like. So you can use that muscle memory. People are going to recognize it with your executives. And that's the value. That's it. Take care and talk soon.